I'd like to call the Senate to order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Barnett, Senator Barrett, Senator Berry, Senator Blackman, Senator Blackwell, Senator Blunt, Senator Boyd, Senator Branning, Senator Brumfield, Senator Bryan, Senator Butler, Senator Carter, Senator Chadzenall, Senator Chisholm, Senator DeBar, Senator Delano, Senator England, Senator Fillingane, Senator Frazier, Senator Harkins, Senator Hickman, Senator Hill, Senator Hobson, Senator Horn, Senator Jackson, Senator Johnson, Senator Jordan, Senator Kirby, Senator Latner, Senator McCon, Senator McClendon, Senator McMahon, Senator Michelle, Senator Norwood, Senator Parker,
The space is pretty small. So
Senator Parks, Senator Polk, Senator Rhodes, Senator Robinson, Senator Seymour, Senator Simmons of the 12th, Senator Simmons of the 13th, Senator Sparks, Senator Suber, Senator Tate, Senator Thomas, Senator Thompson, Senator Turner Ford, Senator Whaley, Senator Wiggins, Senator Williams, Senator Younger. Mr. President, a quorum is present.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. We appreciate that. Will the senators and guests in the gallery please rise for the invocation to be given by Charles Hawkins, who is the parish priest at St. John's Episcopal Church in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. The invocation will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Senator Wiggins. So, Mr. Hawkins.
let us pray. O God, the fountain of wisdom, whose will is good and gracious, and whose law is truth, we beseech you so to guide and bless our legislature, that they may enact such laws as shall please you, to the glory of your name and the welfare of this people. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome to stay a little bit, Father. Thank you, Father. It's nice to have you here. Senator Wiggins, thank you. Senator Polk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate dispense with the reading of the journal.
Senator moves to dispense with the reading of the journal. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Message and petitions, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, there are none.
Committee reports, Senator Polk, you're recognized.
Mr. President, I move the Senate dispense with the reading of the committee reports.
Senator moves to dispense with the reading of the committee reports. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Next to the reading of the titles of bills and resolutions, Senator Polk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate dispense with the reading of the titles of the bills and the resolutions.
Senator moves to dispense with the reading of the titles of the bills and resolutions. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Next to introduction of guests. Introduction of guests, Senate. Any guest? Senator Michelle, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my honor to welcome our doctor of the day to the chamber. It's Dr. David Brodell. Dr. Brodell moved down here from Ohio and works at the University Medical Center, and he used to be head of the dermatology department, and they saw what a talent he exhibits and moved him to the head of pathology department. He lives in Madison, and would you please join me in welcoming Dr. Brodell to our State Senate chamber.
Welcome, Doctor. We're glad Thank you for taking time today to be with us. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, we'll move to the calendar. Senator Hobson. Pass and retain items 1 and 2. Senator Harkins. Pass and retain items 3 through 11. Senator Kirby, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to suspend the rules and take up items 12 through 28 in block.
12 through 28 in block. Does anyone object? I'll give you just a moment. Anyone object to any one of those?
Read the titles, Mr. President.
Please read the title, Mr. Clerk.
House Concurrent Resolution Number 27, Friends of Mississippi Veterans and Mr. Jack Winstead commend the philanthropic work and leadership. House Concurrent Resolution Number 41, Northwest Mississippi Community College Cheer Team commend for winning 2024 UCA UDA College Cheerleading National Championship, Open All-Girl Division. House Concurrent Resolution Number 44, Northwest Mississippi Community College Women's Soccer Team commend on winning NCJAA Region 23 Championship. House Concurrent Resolution Number 49, Locke Ward commend for efforts to revitalize our capital city and honor for galvanizing others to do the same. House Concurrent Resolution Number 51, Lawrence Bud Young commend distinguished career upon the occasion of his retirement. House Concurrent Resolution Number 56, Northwest Mississippi Community College Dance Team commend for winning the 2024 Open Hip Hop National Championship. House Concurrent Resolution Number 541, encourage further economic ties between Mississippi and Taiwan. Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 542, extend condolences of the legislature on the passing of Elbert Riley Hilliard, Director Emeritus of MDAH. Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 543, commend Phi Theta Kappa's All-Mississippi Academic Team. Senate Resolution Number 65, recognize contributions of Rocky Vaughn of Ackerman, Mississippi, in designing the new Mississippi state flag. Senate Resolution Number 66, commend the Blue Mountain Lady Cougars girls basketball team for winning first state title. Senate Resolution Number 67, commemorate Simpson County upon its bicentennial celebration. Senate Resolution Number 68, recognize Melissa Bond for developing Mississippi Practical Appraiser Training MPAT program. Senate Resolution Number 69, commend 2024 Summerall High School Lady Bobcats cheer team for back-to-back national championships. Senate Resolution Number 70, commend Summerall High School Lady Bobcats girls soccer team for winning first class 4A state championship. Senate Resolution Number 71, commend JSU Lady Tigers women's basketball team and Coach Tamika Reed for winning SWAC championship for 5th straight year. Senate Resolution Number 72, commend Chocolat rodeo competitor Roveski Fatty Hickman for fame on the national TV show Ultimate Cowboy Showdown All-Stars.
Good catch on Sugar Lock there, Mr. Clerk. Most people would have missed that. That's very good. So all in favor of the motion to suspend the rules signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. All right, Senator Kirby.
Okay, that was the usual motion, Mr. President.
No, that was suspend the rules, sir. We're ready for the usual motion.
Oh, I thought we already voted on that.
No, sir.
Usual motion now, Mr. President.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Okay, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, as you can see, these are all well-earned and deserved commending resolutions. If there are no questions, I ask for use of the afternoon roll call for final passage.
Questions from Senator Kirby? Questions? Seeing none, use of the afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Count is voting no. Present? Seeing none, thank you, Senator Kirby. We move from, just 1 second, to 29 motions to reconsider. Motion to reconsider, anyone? 29, 30, 31, and 32 retain their place on the calendar. We go to 33, Senator Carter.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we call it item 33 on today's calendar of title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill Number 1664, acceptance or offer of gifts, revised provisions relating to.
I move we table the motion to reconsider, be recognized, explain.
You're recognized to explain.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had Senator Williams hold this on the motion to reconsider. So wanted to look at some code sections after House amended a bill. After looking at everything, I want to go ahead and table this motion to reconsider. Ask everyone to vote yes.
Motion to reconsider. All in favor, consider to table. All in favor, consider motions considered by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Thank you, Senator Carter. We're on 34, Senate through 37. 34 through 37. Laid on the table, subject to call, Wiggins, DeBar for occurrence and non-concurrence. Wiggins. We're on 38, Senate.
Go to item 38, call that up, ask the title be read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 1086, land petitions, revised provision that regulate.
Make the usual motion.
The usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed,
And my
Senator.
motion is that we call this up and Mr. President would be asked to allow to explain the strike all.
You're recognized to explain the strike call.
Thank you. There was one change made in committee, and that was adding the word personal property. And in short, this is allowing for a court to step in and on any co-parson or tenant in common or any other person to allow them to, or to order them to leave the land and take their personal property. So with that, that is the bill. And if there's no question, I would move to adopt the strike all, Mr. President.
Questions on the bill? Questions? Seeing none. All in favor of the strike all signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, Senator.
Move passage on the afternoon roll call, Mr. President.
Use of the afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Recording is voting no. Turn it forward, no. Anyone else? Present? Anyone else? Present, Simmons. Present, Norwood, no. Norwood is no, Mr. Clerk. Horn, no. Anyone else? Frazier, present. Anyone else? Anyone else? Bill passes by use of the afternoon roll call. Thank you, Senator Wiggins. Senator Barr. Pass and retain. Senator Boyd. Pass and retain. 40. Senator Fillingham. Pass and retain. 44. Senator Harkins. Pass and retain. 47. Senator Barnett. Senator Barnett. Pass. No problem. Senator Barnett passes. Senator Harkins passes on 49-50-51. Senator Michelle, pass and retain. Senator Sparks, pass and retain. Thompson, pass and retain. Blackwell, pass and retain. Barnett, pass and retain. Harkins, pass and retain. That takes us. Chasnall, pass and retain. Simmons. Senate, we're on 60. Senator Simmons. Pass and retain? Okay, Senator Simmons. Back to Senator Barnett. Senator Barnett, pass. Senator Sparks, pass. Harkins, pass. Parker, pass and retain. Branning, pass. England, pass. DeBar, pass. Carter, pass. DeBar, Boyd, pass. England, pass. Johnson, pass and retain. England, pass and retain. Whaley, pass and retain. DeBar, pass. Simmons, D, pass and retain. Bryan, down to 80. Okay, in conference, again, 81 goes over to 86. Going to the general calendar. Senator Fillingham, pass and retain. Senator Barnett. Senate, we're on 92. Senator Barnett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we call up item number 92 on today's calendar and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 755, Parole, extend repeal or own statute prescribing conditions for eligibility.
Senator makes the usual motion.
Usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator Barnett.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be able to explain the strikeout.
You're recognized to explain the strike off, Senator.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, what we did on this particular bill was inserted Senate language into this legislation extending the Parole Eligibility Act. Mr. President, I would like to also ask for an amendment to the strikeout.
One moment. One moment, sir. Is it up on the screen? It's dark. I don't think they're picking it up. You got it? Okay, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. The amendment to the strikeout is to add a reverse repealer so that we can continue to work on this piece of legislation with our House members.
Need your motion, sir, to adopt the
My
amendment.
motion is to adopt the amendment.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Now we're on the strike call.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we adopt the strikeout as amended by the use of the afternoon roll call.
It's an all in favor there, Senator. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Now we're on the bill, Senator. Use of the afternoon roll call.
Use of the afternoon roll call.
Anyone object to procedure? Court is voting no. Hill, no. Seymour, no. Chisholm, no. Branning, present. Anyone else? Anyone else? Seeing none, the bill passes by use of the afternoon roll call. Thank you, Senator. 93, sir.
Yes, Mr. President. I ask that we call up item number 93 on today's calendar and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 757, State Offenders Extend Repeal on Authority to House in County Jails when space is unavailable.
Thank you, Mr. President. May we ask, call up the strikeout? I'm sorry, the Senator makes the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we call up, did I be allowed to explain the strikeout?
The strike call, that's correct, sir. You're recognized to explain the strike call, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, what we did with this particular piece of legislation is inserted Senate language into this bill where there's where we'll be able to allow county jails to house state inmates where there's space available, Mr. President, and also have an amendment.
Okay. We have a question on the strike call before we get to the amendment. Senator Simmons, for what purpose, sir?
Question, Mr. President.
Yield for question, Senator?
Yes.
Senator Simmons is recognized for a question on the bill. Strike call.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator, for yielding. Chairman Barnett, what's the current rate that our county and regional jails receive for housing state inmates?
That rate it varies from county, region, not all counties, but regional to regional. That rate could be from $29 to maybe $32 per day.
And are you aware that our regional jails and our county sheriffs have been trying their best to try to push their rate up to about $34 per day?
I'm aware of them trying to increase their pay to $34 a day, but I am also aware that there's others out there as well who are trying to increase their pay on what we pay them as well.
And as the bill goes through the process, well, first of all, let me just say I commend you, Chairman Barnett, for your leadership. I was talking to my sheriffs in two of my counties that have regional jails about your leadership, and that you will continue to listen to them as the bill goes through the process. Will you continue to work with them as this bill goes through the process?
I will, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman Barnett. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Branning, for what purpose? Pass. You can cut her light off. Thank you. Okay. Any further questions on the strike all? Okay, we'll go to the amendment, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. The amendment that's before you is to add a reverse repealer so that we can continue to work on this legislation as we move forward to address some of the concerns that Senator Simmons had and others who may have questions in regard to this as well.
Questions on the amendment? Seeing none, we're ready for your motion to adopt the amendment, Senator.
Motion to adopt the amendment, Mr.
All in
President.
favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Now we're on the strike all, Senator, as amended.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we adopt the strike all as amended.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator. We're on the bill.
Yes, Mr. President, I ask that we adopt the bill based on the afternoon roll call.
Afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to procedure? Cause of voting no. Present. Seeing none, thank you, Senator. Passed by use of the morning roll call. Afternoon roll call, pardon me. 94, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we call up item number 94 on today's calendar and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 758, Pilot Work Initiative at Central Mississippi Correctional Facility, extend repeal or wrong.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that I be allowed to explain the strike item. I'm sorry, the Senator makes the usual motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that I be allowed to explain the strike item.
You're recognized to explain the strike all, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. What this bill does, ladies and gentlemen, is that we again inserted Senate language into the House bill, and this is the pilot work release bill that we had that allow up to 25 individuals. To be allowed to work, save money, have a regular job, and to be able to be employed when they get out. We did have a joint House and Senate corrections hearing on the success of the pilot, and we've had individuals that come and testify as a result of this. It is a great program that we had, and we had the city of Parole, the city of Brandon, Rankin County, and private individuals that used these individuals to come and work. Not only did they work while they was there, but these individuals had employment the day that they walked away from MDOC. And all the participants that we had with this, we only had 2 people that recidivated after. So we're talking about 38 people who took full advantage of this program, and only 2 of them recidivated. It's a great program, and we have other counties and other employers around the state of Mississippi asking that we expand this work program because they see the benefits of it. That's an explanation of the strike out, Mr. President. I do have an amendment at the proper time.
Okay. Questions on the strike all? We'll go to the amendment then.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, this is a repealer, Mr. President, to keep the process moving as we continue to work on this piece of legislation.
Senator Horn, for what purpose, sir?
Question.
Question, Senator, will you yield?
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Senator, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Barnett, like you, I've heard nothing but good things about this program, and the fact that if we had more slots, more inmates would be anxiously interested in being selected for a slot. If the program is going as well as it's going, why aren't we expanding it?
That is the legislation within this. That's why the strike all is there, because the Senate bill expanded this program to all of the facilities that are under MDOC as well as the regionals.
So it's no longer a pilot program?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any
Mr.
other
President,
questions? Yes, sir.
To the chairman, Mr. President. I know you haven't brought the next bill up, but I'm assuming that that's going to be the same thing with the next bill?
Sir?
You're expanding the program in the next bill, the work release program?
Yes, sir. One is on the county level and one is on the state level.
Yes. All right, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Other questions? We're on the amendment. So we're ready for your motion on the amendment, sir.
Yes, Mr. President, as we adopt the amendment.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Now we're on the strike call, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we adopt the strike all.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Now we're on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we adopt strikeout as amended on the morning, on the afternoon roll.
Use the afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Code is voting no. Present. Seeing none, the bill passes by afternoon roll call. Senator, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we call up item number 95 on today's calendar and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 763, Pilot Work Release Program, extend repeal on authority of sheriff to establish for certain offenders in certain counties.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that, Senator makes a usual motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that be allowed to explain the strikeout.
You're recognized, Senator, to explain the strikeout.
Thank you, Mr. President and ladies and gentlemen of the Senate. This bill is similar to the one we just passed, but it only has 3 counties that are listed in this bill, and that's Lee County, Harrison County, and Rankin County. And as Senator, and in regards to the question that Senator Horn asked, there are others, county sheriffs, that would like to participate in this particular legislation as well. And Mr. President, I also have an amendment at the proper time.
Okay, questions first. Seeing none, we'll go to the amendment. It's
Yes,
on
Mr.
it's on the
President.
screen.
The amendment is to add a reverse repealer so that, again, we can continue to work on this piece of legislation to make sure that that all that are willing to participate and be part of this are added to it. And that's the explanation of the amendment, Mr. President.
Seeing no questions, we're ready on your motion, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we adopt the amendment.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Now we're ready on the strike-off,
Thank you,
Senator.
Mr. President. I ask that we adopt the strikeout.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Now we're on the bill, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we adopt the strikeout as amended by the use of the afternoon roll call.
Use the afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Vote no. Voting no. Present. Seeing none, the bill passes. Senator, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we call up item number 96 on today's calendar and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
844, State Parole Board required to solicit recommendations from and provide notification to certain individuals for parole hearing.
Okay.
Senator makes the usual motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Did we do a strikeout to this one?
I have it as a strike-off, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, I'll be allowed to explain the strikeout.
You're recognized to explain the strike-off.
Thank you, Mr. President. As stated earlier in other bills, this is another bill that we've added Senate language in, Mr. President. I also have an amendment at the proper time.
Okay, questions? Questions? Seeing none, we'll go to the amendment. Mr. Clerk, would you put it up on the screen? It's on the screen, Senator. We're ready.
Mr. President, the amendment is, and also in reverse repealer to continue to work on this bill as we move it forward, Mr. President.
Questions on the amendment? Seeing none, ready on your motion on the amendment, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we adopt the amendment.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Let's move to the strike-off, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we adopt the strikeout as amended.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. We're on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we adopt the bill as strikeout using the afternoon roll call.
Afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object? Wish to be called as voting no. Present. Seeing none, thank you, Senator. Passes by use of the afternoon roll call. Senator Whaley?
Thank you.
Pass. Senator Younger? Pass. Senator Branning? Pass. That goes to 102. Senator Parker? Pass. And that goes down to Senator Michelle, 111. Pass and retain. Senator Fillingham? Pass and retain to 115. Senator McCon? One moment. We're on 116, Senate.
Mr. President, I'd call up item number 116 and ask the title be read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 299, Mississippi Forestry Commission authorized to electronically accept bids for timber sales.
Mr. President, I'd make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
Mr. President, I would ask that my Vice Chair, Senator Rhodes, be allowed to explain the bill.
Senator Rhodes, you're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 299 just allows the Forestry Commission and the county foresters employed by the commission to be authorized to accept bids electronically. And that's a pretty simple bill. That's the explanation of the bill. Are there any questions?
Any questions on the bill? Questions on the bill? Seeing none, Senator, we're ready for your motion, sir.
I move we pass House Bill final passage, suggest use of the final passage on afternoon roll call.
Getting closer. Afternoon roll call amendment suggested. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Thank you, Senator McConnell. Pardon me?
We didn't take a vote on that one.
I thought we had a vote on 116. Did I miss that? All in favor. I'm sorry. I know. Use of the afternoon roll call has been requested, and I apologize for that, Senator. Use of the afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? We should be recorded as voting no. Present. Thank you, Senator McConnell. Thank you, Senator Rhodes. We appreciate you. 116. Use of the afternoon roll call passed. We go to 117, Senator England. 117 and 118, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item number 117 on today's calendar and have that title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 922, Election Commissioner, revised office to be nonpartisan.
Thank you. I make the usual motion.
Makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator England.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, this bill is pretty simple. It does two things. It makes our elections commissioners nonpartisan in their elections. It also changes the election years so that they are not running at the same time as circuit clerks, which would allow elections commissioners to run at a different time. And that way you have at least your elections commissioners there to run the elections while the circuit clerks are running. That's basically what this bill does. That's an explanation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions on the bill? Questions? Senator Hill, for what purpose, ma'am?
Question.
You for a question, Senator England?
I do.
Senator Hill's recognized on the bill.
Who brought the bill for making election commissioners nonpartisan?
The election commissioners.
Election
asked me about
commissioners?
this, and I met with them.
Is there a reason why they want to be nonpartisan?
I think their reason for me is that they run elections, I guess when this process is viewed, when our overall elections process is viewed and the people that are running them as elections commissioners, they just felt it would be more proper for them to be nonpartisan.
So people won't know the judicial philosophy or how people feel about maybe voter ID and things like that now when we vote on election commissioners, typically. Because, I mean, that's typically a partisan issue, voter ID and some of the things that we put into law in Mississippi.
Senator Hill, I understand what you're saying. I would say that elections commissioners do run elections, so we're all entitled to ask them questions during the campaign. They should talk with the constituents, and those questions that you have would be proper to ask them about that. And I'm also not so sure if just having a party name or a letter next to your name tells you everything you need to know about a candidate. So we actually need to be encouraging folks to be looking into candidates regardless of what letter is next to their name.
But it tells you a little bit, doesn't it?
Well, it should. It certainly should. I'm not sure it does in every case, but it certainly does. It certainly should. Thank you for your question.
Other questions? Other questions? Senator McMahon, you're recognized for what purpose, sir?
Questions?
You for a question, Senator England?
I do.
Senator McMahon's recognized.
So if they're running nonpartisan, so all of them will just be on the general ballot each year? There's no primary?
That's correct. There would be no primary if they're not running in a party.
So if 15 people run for election commissioner, all 15 will be on the ballot for nonpartisan?
That would be correct.
And then you have to win a majority of the vote, a 50% plus one, or there's a runoff, or is there you just have to win top position of the 15 votes?
It would be whatever the statute says, which I believe is a runoff in that case.
So
of course, you get a plurality of the voters, 51%, you would have a runoff.
So the top two vote getters, if one of them did not receive 50% plus one, would there be a runoff 3 weeks later.
Of your top two vote getters, yes. At the same time as runoff as any other general election. So if you had four people running for, if you had two independents, a Republican and a Democrat running in a general election, and neither of them got 50% plus one, then of course you would have a runoff in that race as well. But I guess there could also be a case where you would end up with just a election commissioner.
But that's counter to what you just said. You said a Democrat, a Republican, independent. They'll all be nonpartisan, correct?
What I'm saying is in the general, if we're in the general election time frame, so the second Tuesday in November, race, say a race for supervisor, then you would have two, say you had a Republican, a Democrat, and two independents, and nobody got 50% plus one, then yes. Elections, I've just been informed that election commissioners do go to a runoff, and it would be the high vote getter of the
two high vote getters.
That's correct.
All right, thanks.
Senator Seymour, for what purpose, sir?
Question, Mr. President.
Please. Senator England, were you for a question?
Yes, I will, Mr. President. If I may clarify one thing,
yes,
Senator McMahon, just one second. Senator McMahon, my example that I used supervisor. That's a high vote getter, so it's a bad example to use. But yes, election commissioners are runoff, would be in a runoff situation. So without paying attention to my bad example of using a supervisor race, I believe everything else I said was correct. I just want to make sure to clarify that, and I will yield to this question, Mr. President.
All right, Senator Seymour, you're recognized for a question on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would this disqualify the current commissioners from running again?
That's not in the bill that I'm aware of. I believe they can run again. They would just run this election.
Well, they done declared that at this point in time.
I understand. Yes, I mean, I'm sure they've. Partisan. That's what we're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you.
Senator Chasnow, for what purpose, ma'am?
A question, please.
Will you yield for a question, Senator?
I will.
Senator Chasnow is recognized for a question on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, is this bill requested by the ECAM, the Election Commissioners Association of Mississippi?
This did come from the Elections Commissioner Association, yes, Senator.
Well, you may not know, I used to be an election commissioner in Montgomery County. And so the Election Commissioners Association generally tries to make it easier for the elections to be held. And if you feel like this is a bill that will enhance our elections and make it easier for people to vote, then I see no problem with it.
Thank you, Senator Chasnow. I'm sure that they are all better from having you serve when you did, and I know we're all thankful that you did.
Well, I thank you for bringing this bill forward.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Chasnow, thank you. Senator Barrett, I'm sorry. Senator Barrett.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. Senator England, I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. In line 71,
71, please.
If you have the bill in front of you, in 2027, the qualified electors of the Board of Supervisors District 2 and 3 shall elect in their District 1 election commissioner who shall serve for a term of 3 years. And then just above that in lines 67 through 70, for Districts 1, 3, and 5, that is for a term of 4 years. Is that a Scrivener's error, or is that the way it's supposed to be?
If you give me just 1 second, Senator Barrett.
Okay.
Okay. Senator Barrett, I just wanted to get clarification, make sure I'm telling you correctly. Yes, that is correct as it is to get them on staggered terms after the 2027 election, and they serve that 3-year term. They will then run for 4 years. So it's just to stagger the elections, again, mainly to get them out of the same race where circuit clerks run, so that you have election officials, your top main election officials not running at the same time.
So they're all getting to serve a 4-year term, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, further questions on the bill? Seeing none, Senator England?
I move for final passage by use of the afternoon roll call, Mr. President.
Use of the afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Court is voting no. Hill, no. Seymour, no. Chisholm, no. Simmons, S, no. Simmons, D, no. Polk, anyone else? Horn, no. Turner Ford, no. Barnett, no. Thomas, no. Brumfield, no. Any other noes? Present. Anyone voting present? Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The bill passes by use of the afternoon roll call. Senator England, 118. Passed and retained. Senator Wiggins. Senate, we're on 119.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we pass 119 and 120, that they retain their place on the calendar, and we go to item 121. Call that up, ask the title be read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title. 119 and 120 retain their place on the calendar.
House Bill number 325, real property right-of-way refusal expires on grantee's death unless specifically stated otherwise.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. President. It does exactly what the title says, that when there's a right of first refusal in real property, that it will distinguish upon the death unless there is an agreement or an amendment inserted into the instrument that clearly states otherwise. That's all the bill does, and with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions on the bill? Questions on the bill?
Move passage on the afternoon roll call.
Use of the afternoon roll call has been requested. I'm sorry, one moment, please. Senator Hill? You will yield for a question, Senator Wiggins?
Yes.
Senator Hill is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm looking at the strike all. Okay.
There's no strike all.
No, I'm looking at the strike through version as what's being removed, and this basically takes the discretion of the court away on line 47 and 48. So no matter what the court thinks, we're going to award joint custody 50-50. Is that correct?
That's not the bill that we're on. We're on item 121.
On item what?
House Bill 325.
Okay, House Bill 325. Sorry. Is this the one that has to do with frozen embryos?
No, it does not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Senator Wiggins, we're ready.
Passage on the morning roll call, Mr. President.
Afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to procedure? Wish to be recorded as voting no. No, anyone? Present? Anyone? All right, Senator.
Go to item 122.
Bill passes by use of the afternoon roll call.
Go to item 122. Call that up. Ask the title be read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 846, Chancery Clerk fees conform recording deeds to land sold for taxes and redemption of such lands.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator Wiggins.
This is the companion bill to the one that we passed out of Rankin County. Simply raises the fees for recording deeds for land sold for taxes. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Is there any questions? Seeing none, Senator, we're ready for your motion.
Move passage on the morning roll call, afternoon roll call,
Use
Mr.
of the
President.
afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure or is voting no? Present? I'm sorry, Senator Hill? No. Chisholm, no. Branning? Present. Anyone else? Anyone else? Bill passes by use of the afternoon roll call. Senator, you recognize?
Ask that 123, we pass that and retain its place on the calendar.
Retain and place on the calendar. Senator Thompson? Pass and retain. Senator Sparks? Pass and retain. Senator Simmons, D. We're on 126, Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I go to item 126 on today's calendar and ask that the title be read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 331, counties and the municipalities authorized to choose not to be subject to requirement for permitting as a condition to construction.
I make the usual motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator Simmons.
Mr. President, I ask that we recognize Senator Super to explain the strike-off.
Senator, you're recognized to explain the strike-off.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 331, this is a bill we had passed last year. It was actually vetoed by the governor. We worked and made a few changes. Actually met with the Home Builder Association. It's been discussed with the Board of Contractors. They're not going to oppose this bill as it currently is. What this does is this will allow the counties with a population under 22,500 to opt out of the permitting requirement for a period of 5 years. And this is on line 127 through 134. And additionally on lines 203 through 209, this will allow municipalities with a population under 7,500 to opt out of the permitting requirement. This does not affect the licensure requirement that we currently have in place, but this will allow the counties, municipalities to opt out just for the permitting part for a period of 5 years. Then after that, everybody will have to have a permit.
Questions on the bill? Senator Super, any other explanation, sir? You ready for questions, sir?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Senator Wiggins, you're ready.
Question?
You go for a question, Senator Super?
Yes, Mr. President.
Senator Wiggins, you're recognized for a question on this bill.
Does this in any way affect the statewide building codes that have helped reduce some of the insurance rates?
No, this will not have any effect on the building code. This will not have any effect on someone having to have a license.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Harkins, you're recognized for what purpose, sir?
Question.
You yield for a question, Senator Super?
Yes, Mr.
Senator Harkins recognized.
So when you say it eliminates permitting, what is involved in permitting?
So currently, under law that we passed a couple of years ago, someone would have to go to someone at the county or someone at the municipality and apply for a permit.
But what does that permit do?
So
what is the process of permitting?
So you'd have to provide a copy of your license. You'd also have to provide, I'm assuming, a copy of your insurance also.
Okay. Does it require inspections? Does it require anything of the county or city to do anything past that part?
Not that I know of.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Not that I know of.
No? Okay. So why are we looking to exempt counties and cities from just trying to find a record of who built a structure in the city or the county?
So we have a lot of individuals who have been practicing in these different counties and cities, and they've been unable to get permits to continue building houses, working on HVAC.
They're not able to get a permit?
They've not been able to get a permit because they might not have a license. So we want to give them time to actually take a test, get licensed, or retire, or find something else to do. And this has been requested by these smaller counties, municipalities. Like I've had boards of supervisors approach me about this, and And like I said, I got to handling this bill last year, and so I agreed to handle it again this year.
Well, I guess my concern is, why are we worried about permitting when we're trying to find out who, as a record, who is building a house? So right now, in current law, what is the process in order to be an electrician or to be a plumber or a mechanical contractor? Is there requirements on those individuals?
I missed part of that. I can't really hear you.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to ask the question as loud as I possibly can. Is there anything right now, does it require permitting? Do you have to have a license to be an electrician, a plumber, or a mechanical contractor?
That's correct.
That's the current law? That's been the law for a long time. Anything that can blow a house up, you have to have a license to perform, correct?
Yeah. So we passed that 2 years ago, I believe, and now.
But that was already the law, was it not? Was it currently, in order to work on a house, did you have to have a license to be a electrician, a plumber, or a mechanical contractor?
Like a subcontractor or just period?
Period.
Well, I think you.
I mean, I know you can go and perform the work without it, but I'm saying is, was it already, did we do anything that wasn't already required by law as far as licensing? Did we make anybody else become a licensed person that has to get a license when we passed that law 2 years ago that wasn't currently required to be licensed?
Well, electrical, we added electrical, HVAC, mechanical, and I think there's another part to that.
They call them life skills, anything that can blow a house up?
Right. We added that a few years ago.
Okay. So we've gone back and forth on this issue several times and in several iterations, and I understand the angst some have, but at some point, when are we going to kind of evolve and understand that, while you may not want to have somebody licensed to do that in your house, eventually you're going to sell your house or somebody else is going to be living in that house. Is there any expectation that a licensed electrician, mechanical contractor, or plumber did the work in the house?
Well, and this isn't just applying to the electrical. I mean, this is just strictly permitting. This is not change anything with the license.
That's my point. So if that's what's required to get a permit, all it is a record of who built the house. It doesn't require inspection. It doesn't require the county to go out and do anything. It's just a record of who built the house. I'm just trying to figure out why that's a bad thing.
Well, like I said, we have people who are probably as good as anyone out there that do not have a license, and when this passed, they didn't have very much of a time period to get adjusted. So we're just trying to give a little time period.
I think we gave them 18 months, and they waived all the requirements. They basically had them. If you had a experience, if you were in business for a certain number of years, if you had an affidavit that you were doing the work, an inspector had inspected your prior work, you could get waived and get a license. We extended it twice.
Well, I know they've extended it twice.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they extended it to the last time, as the Board of Contractors let me know a few weeks ago. But this is we're just trying to help the individuals. And I'm not one who's opposed to licensing, believe me. But I'm just trying to help these individuals who have been unable to, for whatever reason, get a license. I want to give them time to either retire, find another profession, or get them prepared to take the test so they can be qualified to apply for a permit.
Well, so we gave them 18 months to get a license, correct?
Well, it was 6 months. I think they've extended another 6 months.
We extended a year, and then we extended another 6 months.
Another 6 months, which that was kind of the main part of this last year, was I was trying to just extend that to allow these people to actually get their time to be grandfathered in.
If we extended the deadline to 18 months for people to be able to get a license that weren't licensed or that had been working for, like you said, a long time and are great at their craft, what's the reason why we wouldn't want permitting? I'm just still kind of confused as to why you wouldn't want to have permitting and in order to have a record of who built the house in case there's something wrong with it or in case something comes up.
Like I said, the supervisors have asked me for this. All these municipalities, so the aldermen, the mayors, have been asking for this for 2 years to try to. I mean, they say they don't have the money to do it. I disagree with that part, but they're just not wanting to do it at this time. And And frankly, the problem is, in some of these counties, they're not even enforcing it anyway. So I'd like to give them time to try to work on this.
How long does this exempt them from keeping a record of who is building a structure?
What was that last part?
How many years is this exempting them?
This currently is a 5-year exemption.
5 years.
So they have to opt out by December 31st of 2025, and it would be effective until July 1 of 2029. So if this passed in July of this year, it went into law, you would have 5 years. But they have until December 31st, 2025 to actually opt out. And I know some counties aren't going to opt out, some cities wouldn't opt out, but there are quite a few that probably would, based on my conversations with these.
Do you think this affects insurance rates in those counties where having a license to build a structure is not required, or a permit?
It may or may not. I'm not sure.
It may or may not?
No, I mean, I'm not qualified to answer that question.
You think 5 years is too long?
I mean, that's just kind of what was requested.
Does this bill have a reverse repealer in it?
Yeah, we did a strike all, so it's going to conference. But it
does it have a reverse repealer in it?
It does not.
So they could concur with it and send it on to the governor. So it's not going to conference for sure. It may or may not.
I mean, that might be true. I know the House wants something that's a lot more lenient than this, so I have a feeling it's going to go to conference. But I mean, I'm kind of, this is the.
What was the House version?
On the remodeler, it had the number at 12. No, I'm sorry. Actually, the House version pretty much eliminated the requirement for permits at all. So it was a lot more open. Like I said, we wanted to restrict it down because I don't want to get rid of permitting at all. This is just trying to do.
Well, that's what this bill does for 5 years.
Yeah, for a time period. But I just want to allow everybody to phase in or phase out, and then I would never be back up here again asking for an exemption for a permit. Like I said, this is just trying to help these people who have been in the business for 20, 30, 40 years.
Thank you, Senator Sewer. I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Senator Seymour, for what purpose, sir?
Question, Mr.
Here for a
President.
question, Senator Suber.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, ain't it true that some of the counties and cities don't even have a code department?
I'm sorry.
Code department?
That's true.
Isn't this also basically allowing them time to where they can get acclimated to the system?
That's right. I know we have state building codes. I'm not sure many of these counties have implemented them. But like I said, this is just affecting a small group of cities and a list of counties. And I do have a list of that if anybody would like to see.
I mean, some of these counties are pretty tight on their budget already. And
Right.
To
The
set up a
problem-
new board where they're not even enforcing it and making the workforce in their general area to get permitted, this is not, why do they have to do it without the county or the city being able to write them the permit when they go to get it for doing work for some entity in their county or city?
Right. That's correct. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Senator Delano, for what purpose?
Additional questions?
Will you yield for a question, Senator?
Yes, sir.
Senator Delano is recognized for a question on the bill.
So for years, we've done our very best to try to protect Mississippians and to protect homeowners from getting, from having problems with unscrupulous contractors across the state, especially after disaster events, whether it be a hurricane or a tornado or flood. So much so that we, as the legislature, for 10 or 15 years have had a lot of debates on this issue on how to protect Mississippians. You are aware that we have that statewide building code, correct?
That's right.
And at that time, when that bill was passed, it was passed so that instead of enforcing that every single municipality and county in the state have a building code and a building office, we gave them the opportunity to opt out because they needed more time, correct? You remember that? I know that you weren't here, but
Right,
you...
I wasn't here, but I do know what you're talking about, yes.
Okay, so we have given municipalities and counties a lot of time to address this issue and to clean it up. Yet, I've been the chairman, I've been fortunate enough to be able to handle MEMA's budget for a good number of years while in the legislature. And the number one thing that I see after tornado events and that I hear accounts of is how the poor quality of construction contributed to a lot of the damage that people saw in their homes. Would you agree that we need to do what we can to protect not just that home builder, but as our finance chairman talked about, it's the next person that purchases that house, or it's the next person that moves into that apartment that has their children living in a room that somebody did electrical work that we don't have any idea who they are, whether they had insurance, whether they did it by code, or whether they did it by right. So I don't understand how this bill is going to help protect Mississippians, especially in the way that that we have tried so hard to prevent like I said, these bad vendors from coming into our cities and our counties.
Right, and the problem is a lot of these small counties do not have anyone who is licensed. Like in my home county in particular, there are 4 licensed contractors. None of them are electrical. We have one HVAC guy. We have one that's a residential builder, and he doesn't even work in the county. And the other guy just puts in spray foam insulation. And so our problem is that we don't have individuals to do this. So, but the ones who've been doing it, I want to work with them to get licensed. I've actually mentioned to some members of the Board of Contractors about looking at maybe doing an apprenticeship program or some other, maybe another option to help some of these people get licensed who are 60 years old and don't want to go to take a test, but maybe they have some other options to do it.
You know, our community colleges have invested a lot of money in trying to provide those skilled trades for contractors just like the ones that you speak of.
Right, and I want to continue to see them expand and get more and more people going, because I feel like this is a growing profession. I mean,
yeah, there's no doubt about that. And also, this goes to insurance and the cost of homeowners insurance. We've been dealing with homeowners insurance issues on the coast for a great number of years, but it's been astonishing the number of people, homeowners from the north part of the state, who have been talking about their insurance rates going up and continuing to climb. One of the things that we do is we try to ask the insurance industry, what can we do to help lower those rates? And you know what the number one thing that they told us for Mississippi would be? Is if we could have an occupancy permit for a structure that was built. That means that counties would have to go out and inspect. That's something that we need to have and that we need to get everyone on board with, because insurance companies are not going to continue to write in our state if we're not doing the things that we need to do to reduce our risk and to make sure that the policies that they write in Mississippi are going to be sound policies that are not going to be, and the only way for them to be able to know that at the bare minimum is for it to have an inspection and for someone to look at it to make sure that the contractors that are doing it right are actually performing the work.
Well, and that's why we limited this just to a short time period, because, like I said, the House version pretty much eliminated permits altogether. And I don't agree with that. The only thing I agreed with was just trying to help some of these individuals who have been in this profession for long periods of time. And the other thing about this, though, counties and cities do not have to opt out. But, ones that choose to, most of my counties are on this list, and all of them have told me that's what they want to do. But they don't have to. And a lot of these cities already have their own code enforcement or their building permits. So this doesn't change any of that. This just allows the ones who choose not to participate for a 5-year window. That's it. And after that, everybody has to have a permit regardless.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know this is a tough issue for you, and it's something that you have to deal with in your districts. This is something that will affect everybody in the state, directly or indirectly, especially through insurance costs. I wish I could vote with you, but I apologize. Thank you,
This
sir.
isn't just my district. I mean, this has been from many supervisors from all over the state.
Thank you. Senator McClendon, for what purpose, sir?
Question, please.
Will you yield for a question, Senator Suber?
Yes,
Senator
sir.
McClendon?
Is this on new construction as well, or just repairs?
This will be just for permits, anything that you have to pull a permit for.
So a permit for a new house, then?
Right, but like it wouldn't apply to DeSoto County. But yes, I mean, it'd be for a new house.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator O'Connor. For what purpose, sir?
For question.
Yield question, Senator Suber. Senator O'Connor, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thought maybe I should be asking a few questions from the counties that are less than 157,000, 208,000, 223,000, and 185,000 people. And ask the question is this: when a home is sold, is there an opportunity for a home inspection?
Yes, there is.
And those can be waived by the person too, correct?
That's correct.
So maybe we should require home inspections from this point forward. Maybe that's the way that we protect everybody, because it sounds to me like on this floor we're talking about protecting everybody from every harm. Is that what we're hearing here? My other question, is there a property disclosure on that as well?
It is if you're working with the realtor.
So usually when you're running with a realtor, there's a disclosure on there that says everything from the date of the roof, whether there's lead paint, what's in that home, there's a disclosure on that. I've heard about the insurance rates going through the roof, but since the time of this being passed, in the time that I've been here, because I remember this being fought several times, have you seen a decrease in the rates in these counties where it's gone in place?
No, all my rates have all doubled.
I've heard a lot of discussion about all the different things that are going to happen and how the sky is falling here. But at the end of the day, you've expressed an interest, and I know I've heard you talk to some of these contractors and people like that about trying to work with the community colleges to provide maybe a system in which some of these people can get certified and get their contractor's license. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Have you also talked about maybe an apprenticeship program? Have you talked about that?
That's correct.
So do you think that at some point, some of these people who maybe have been out of school for 10, 15 years, but are the better carpenter than anybody that you'll hire in the state of Mississippi otherwise, would be open to maybe doing an apprenticeship to get that license?
That's correct. And like I said, I've tried to talk to all the groups that have an interest in a bill like this. And
have you talked to them? You've talked to them?
I have.
And who's all opposed to this from the associations you've talked to?
Like I said, I've met with the subcontractors, met with the board of contractors, or some of the commissioners with the board of contractors. I've had conversation with the executive director of the board of contractors. Also met with the home builders, and like I said, we had some other parts in this bill that they didn't like, and we took those out. And I said I wanted to work with everybody. In this part, they were okay with. They said they wouldn't oppose it just because they kind of, I'm not going to say they agree, but they want to work and get as many people a license as possible. And that's how I feel also. I just feel like we have a lot of people who, for whatever reason, they're just uncomfortable taking a test or don't want to come take a test or not capable of taking a test. But they're some of the best electrical folks I know or whatever profession, and want to get them either to find another profession, I guess retire or get licensed. So, I mean, we want to work towards getting everybody licensed.
Last question. Overall, the push in this chamber and in both houses in this legislature has been to continue to help people get jobs. So your plan here is not to harm that. Your plan at the end of the day is to try to encourage people to do that and to get their certifications. Is that right?
That's right. And I've worked, with a dozen people or so trying to get them to go to the licensure board and, because we had a little grandfather clause from a couple years ago. I wanted to get these people in there. I was trying to help them. Now, some didn't do it, and that's on them, but I want to get everybody that wants to get licensed, I want to get them licensed.
Thank you for your work, Senator Super.
Senator Sparks, for what purpose, sir?
Question, Mr. President.
You for a question, Senator Suber?
I do.
Senator Sparks is recognized for a question on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The issue, and if I missed it, I'm very sorry, because Senator Bryan is correct. I'm either going deaf or the sound system's getting worse in this building.
Yeah, I can't.
So I can't hear about half of it. But the question I have is, I heard the word construction repeatedly. I want to get away from that just a second. Are we talking about people who come out and deal with plumbing issues in your home? So if I call a guy because it happened to freeze across northeast Mississippi and pipes are busted everywhere, we say bursted, and I'm going to call a guy to come fix it, is that a guy that has to have a permit?
So there's a limit. Like if it's
Okay.
if it's under $10,000, considered like a remodeler. I believe,
I'm not talking about remodeling.
Well,
I'm talking about working on something that's broken.
okay.
My HVAC unit has gone out. It's 102 degrees in Belmont. I want somebody to come out and look at my HVAC unit. Can they do it without a permit?
I think if it's under a certain level, if it's under the 10,000, you can.
Okay. Thank you.
But now I think if it's over the 10,000, which a lot of HVAC systems now are exceeding that, plumbing is not cheap.
Well,
Especially if you got to run a new sewer line or something like that. So I mean, you could, because that's labor and materials, you could get over that limit.
Well, if this statute is what we passed, this bill, about 2 years ago, I've been told repeatedly by people in my district who do those types of work, those small jobs, that they've been told they had to go get licensed.
Yeah.
And that ain't what I'm for.
Now, I think, cities do have their own rules and regulations, and some counties do also.
Well, when we adopted this bill, we minimum zoned the entire state, if I remember correctly. And if minimum zoning requires permitting, that's the part I'm more interested in, is the fact that we can't call someone to come do basic work without them having to pull a permit down at the city or the county.
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Senator Sparks. Senator Hill, for what purpose?
Question.
Are you for a question, Senator?
I guess.
Senator Hill.
I'm trying to help you here now. You may or may not know that my husband's worked in the electrical field for 42 years, worked for a power company. Would you be surprised if I told you that some of the worst jobs that he comes in behind are from people with license?
How I've got in this, I'm not 100% sure, but I would not dispute that. I've had more people tell me about the terrible jobs of licensed contractors and unlicensed contractors.
That doesn't guarantee because they have a piece of paper that they're going to do a good job, does it?
That doesn't guarantee, and they do have. Not everybody has insurance. Most licensed contractors are supposed to.
But we have folks that may have some learning disabilities and can't do the best job of reading and writing and communicating on paper, but they sure know how to plumb a house, right?
That's correct.
And that's the people that we want to keep working, correct?
We do. I want to, like I said, I want to help these people get licensed, or if we need to work out, try to get them into community college. Because the community college, most
and
of them,
and from what the people in the high schools are telling me, that this CPAS is also a problem. That these kids all have to take a test, even if they're in vocational, even though they can do the work. Sometimes they may have trouble with this written test. So we're seeing this not only in the working field, but we're also seeing it in high schools, because I've had high school principals and superintendents call me and tell me about this, that you're limiting kids because you tested them too much, even in the vocational fields, that they could do a practical test a whole lot better than they could a written test.
right, and that's something we're going to have more discussions about even this summer.
Well, I appreciate your work on this.
Thank you, Senator Hill. Any other questions? Any other questions? Senator Simmons, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Senators, we heard your questions, and Senator Super has been really working hard on this for small counties. It's supported by the Supervisors Association. So I do have an amendment If you can place the amendment on the screen, Mr. President.
It's on the screen, Senator. We're ready for your motion.
This amendment is just puts the reverse repeal in it. We heard Senator Harkins raise his question, and as you all know, this is a time of the year that we want to make sure that we keep our finance chair and our appropriations chair happy. So Josh, we got the reverse appeal in the bill. And Senators, I'm asking you all, please support the bill with the reverse appealer. Thank you.
Senator Super, any comment?
No, Mr. President, I support the amendment.
Ready for your motion, Senator.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the amendment to the strike all.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, Senator. We're back on the strike all.
Now, Mr. President, I ask that we adopt the amendment to the strike all in lieu of the original bill by use of the afternoon roll call.
Well, you got 2 steps ahead of
sorry.
you. I think you got to go to the strike all first, Senator.
Mr. President, I ask that we adopt the strike all.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Now, Senator, we're ready for your afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, Mr. President, I ask that we adopt the bill on final passage by use of the afternoon roll call.
Afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Wish to be recorded as voting no. No. Delano, no. McMahon, no. Wiggins, no. Horn, no. Williams, no. Thompson, no. Parker, no. Carter, no. England, no. Blackwell, no. Boyd, no. McClendon, no. Anyone else? Anyone else? Present? Any present? One moment, Senate. Okay. 12 noes, the bill passes. Thank you, Senator Simmons. Senator Boyd, pass and retain. We go to Senator Polk, pass and retain through 137. Senator DeBar, pass and retain through 144. Senator Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 145, House Bill 1143, and ask that the title be read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 1143, Advanced Metastatic Cancer, prohibit health plans from requiring step therapy before covering certain drugs to treat.
I'd like to make the usual motion.
There's a motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. This legislation would prohibit a health benefit plan from requiring step therapy for treatment of advanced metastatic cancer. Metastasized cancer is cancer that has moved from one part of the body into another tissue or another area of the body. I've spoken with the insurance commissioner on this to look at the effects on the state health plan. The insurance commissioner is in favor of this legislation. I've also spoken with the state health plan board chairwoman and also the policy director for the governor's office. They think worst case scenario would be a small cost or neutral cost, and very well could be a cost savings. I want to add we added in the committee a 2-year repealer so that we can get the facts from our state health plan and study and see the financial aspects of this. But the hope is that by not requiring the step therapy, that it could possibly, possibly save lives, and possibly could be a cost benefit by moving past the step therapy and going straight to the approved medication. And I'd like to offer that amendment right now at this time.
Senator Hill, for what purpose?
Question.
You for a question, Senator?
Yes.
This is only for drugs. This is not for any type of radiation treatment or anything. This is just like for ingestible drugs, chemotherapy drugs,
Yes,
that type of thing.
Yes.
I think it's a good idea to do this, and I think at some point we may need to expand on it because we're getting so many denials on advanced radiation treatment.
Thank you, Senator. Okay, we have an amendment, Senator. We're on the amendment.
Thank you. That amendment offers a repealer in 2 years. Again, this will allow us an opportunity to look at the effects of this on our state health plan, get the numbers together. It'd be wonderful if it was a cost savings as well as saving lives. So that's the idea for the having the repealer in that. I move adoption of the amendment.
One moment. Not the normal. It's not the normal repealer. Okay, any questions on the amendment? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move final passage as amended by the use of the afternoon roll call.
Use of the afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Court is voting no. Present. Seeing none, bill passes by use of the morning roll call as amended. Senator Michelle.
Thank you. I'd like to pass item 146 and 147 and ask that they retain their place on the calendar.
Retain their place on the calendar. Senator Turner Ford. Pass and retain. Senator Fillingane. Senator Fillingane, 149, Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to skip item 149 and 150 and ask that they retain their place on the calendar and go to item 151.
149, 150, retain place on the calendar. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 1015, DPS, authorize inspectors to assist other officers.
I make the usual motion.
Usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Thank
Please
you, Mr.
proceed,
President.
Senator.
If you'll recognize Senator Sparks to handle the bill.
Senator Sparks, you're recognized to handle the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1015 addresses where we merged Commercial Transportation Enforcement Division, CTED, which was formerly MDOT Enforcement, with the Mississippi Highway Patrol Motor Carrier Division. We did this a couple of years ago. The CTED officers, which are the former MDOT officers, are not allowed to work DUIs, and they were not allowed to run speed detection. This bill would allow them to do that. The speed detection equipment would be on commercial vehicles that they are authorized to inspect. You got to remember that the CTED people, inspectors, are what they are referred to because they are often inspecting those vehicles, and that they would have the ability to do that. But the biggest reason for this is that we will leave about $2 or $3 million of federal money on the table because they're not able to participate in this capacity, but it's also part of the merging of these two units under the umbrella of the Department of Public Safety. That is an explanation of the bill, Mr. President, and I would yield to any questions.
On the bill. Questions on the bill. Senator Norwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. Question.
Yes. Will you recognize Senator Norwood? You're recognized for a question on this bill.
Senator Parks, thank you, and that's all they will be able to do, right?
That's the additional authority they would be given. That's correct, yes.
No speeding tickets.
They could write a speeding ticket to a commercial vehicle, yes.
Right. Okay, not just to a commercial vehicle, not to you.
On line 43, it says use speed detection equipment on commercial vehicles that they are authorized to inspect. So they're not authorized to inspect you and your family car going down the highway.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Norwood. Other questions? Thank you, Senator Sparks. We're ready for your motion, sir.
Move for passage on the afternoon roll call.
Afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Court is voting no. Blackman, no. Anyone else? Present? Barnett? No. Anyone else? Present? Bill passes by use of the afternoon roll call. Thank you, Senator Sparks. Senator Fillingane, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 152, call it up and have the title
Mr.
read.
Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 873, Purple Alert, establishing additional means to aid search of missing persons with cognitive disabilities.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed. Senator Fillingham.
Thank you, Mr. President. This House bill essentially allows for local law enforcement agencies, if the situation arises, to issue what is being called in this legislation a purple alert. And if you are looking at the bill, if you'll look under lines 45 and following, it kind of identifies what that is. It's a purple alert is a local law enforcement agency may broadcast information concerning a missing person who has a mental or cognitive disability that is not Alzheimer's disease or dementia related, because those are sort of covered by the silver alert that we already have. But for those that does not cover that, an intellectual disability or developmental disability, a brain injury, another physical, mental, or emotional disability that is not related to substance abuse or combination of any of these. And if the disappearance indicates a credible threat of immediate danger or serious bodily harm to that person, then the local law enforcement agency could issue an alert within geographic boundaries given the situation. I spoke with Commissioner Tyndall and asked him his thoughts on this purple alert, and he says he has no issue with it. It's really more of a local kind of law enforcement grassroots up versus the state down. So it covers a lot of those same issues, but a couple of examples for things that this would cover would be like Down syndrome, people with non-medicated bipolars, for instance, people like that. So they don't necessarily fall into a specific age category, like an amber alert for missing child or a silver alert for missing senior. These would cover people regardless of their age that would fall into these sorts of categories and go missing. So that's what this bill is about. I'm happy to try and answer any questions you may have.
Questions on the bill? Seeing none, Senator, we're ready for your motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. If no further questions, I move adoption by use of the afternoon roll call.
The afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Court is voting no. Present. Senator Fillingham, your bill passes by use of the afternoon roll call. Senator Fillingham, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to the next item, item 153, called up and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 1023, DHS fraud investigators allowed to drive unmarked vehicles.
Make the usual motion.
Usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill does exactly what the title says. It, along with several other agencies that already have carve-outs within this language, it allows for vehicles that are owned and operated by the Department of Human Services Office of Inspector General solely for the use by Mississippi certified law enforcement officers who are assigned to the Fraud Investigative Unit. So not all the DHS vehicles, just those few number of vehicles that would be assigned to the Fraud Investigative Unit, because if you're rolling up on someone you're trying to investigate and they can look out and see that who you are because you got your name of the agency plastered on the side of the vehicle, it kind of ruins the whole idea of secrecy and someone investigating you. So that's what the bill does. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions on the bill? Seeing none, we're ready for your motion.
No
Senator.
questions. I move adoption by use of the afternoon roll call.
As the afternoon roll call has been requested, anyone object to the procedure? Vote is no. Present. Thank you, Senator Fillingham. Bill passes by use of the afternoon roll call.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move to suspend the rules for the immediate consideration of item number 89 on the calendar today, bill number 1196.
One moment. '89.
Yes, sir.
1196.
Yes.
Suspend. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're on 89. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 1196, extortion, create crime of.
Commit the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator Fillingham.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you'll recognize Senator Williams to explain the strike all.
Senator Williams is recognized to explain the strike all.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, House Bill 1196. The strike all is the bill that we passed a few weeks ago, Senate Bill 2355. This is the sex exploitation the sexual extortion bill that we passed. It's the same thing. We put ours in there at the proper time. I do have an amendment, Mr. President.
Okay, let's first answer any questions on the bill first. On the
Any
strike
questions on the bill?
We're on the strike off. Senator England, for what purpose, sir?
Mr. President, I have an amendment at the proper time prior to adopting of the strike all.
Next bill.
Next bill?
Next bill.
I'm on the wrong bill.
My apologies.
All right, now. Okay, we're ready on the amendment.
Thank you. Is the amendment on the screen?
It is now, Senator. We're ready.
There are two things on the amendment. May I be allowed to explain the amendment, Mr. President?
You're recognized to explain the amendment, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're going to go in, the original bill had 20 years for sexual extortion and aggravated sexual extortion. 15 years is what extortion terms are, both state and federal. This will just align us with that, so I'm correcting that. Also, we're going to remove the reverse appealer because this bill is ready to go if this body so chooses to pass it based upon that. I'll yield to questions on the amendment.
Questions on the amendment? Seeing none, Senator, we're ready on your motion on the amendment.
I would move that we pass the amendment.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, Senator.
I would move that we pass the strike all as amended by use of the afternoon roll call, Mr. President.
We got to get strike all first. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed,
Aye.
no. The ayes have it, Senator. Now we're ready on the motion.
I would move that we pass the bill as amended by use of the afternoon roll call, Mr. President.
Afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Court is voting no. Present. Seeing none, bill passes by use of afternoon roll call. Thank you, Senator Fillingane. Thank you. Senator Williams. Senator Fillingane.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the rules for the immediate consideration of item number 187, House Bill number 1126.
187, Senate. 187. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, Senator, on 187.
I'd like to go to that item called up and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 1126, Walker Montgomery, Protecting Children Online Act, established to protect minors from harmful content.
I make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you'll again recognize Senator Williams to handle this bill.
Senator Williams, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be recognized to explain the bill.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is House Bill 1126. This is a civil companion to the bill we just did, which is the criminal thing. The criminal bill, as y'all know, we've told the story about Walker Montgomery and the tragic passing that he had because of sexual extortion that happened to him. We've got the criminal part in place. This is the civil part, and I kind of want to go through it in a few different stages if we can. Why are we doing this? It's very simple: to protect our kids. We're putting the guardrails on the social media platforms that are out there. While we're doing much to protect our children, much more is yet to be done. The social media companies do spend millions of dollars as they attempt to put the guardrails on, but as I said, there's much more that needs to be done. That's why we're here creating policy around that. This body has passed several pieces of legislation in the last few years. The revenge porn legislation that was passed, I think, 2 years ago. Last year, the online porn bill that was passed. And here we come with what we call the Walker Montgomery Act, with putting the guardrails on the social media platforms. As I've worked this bill, I've kind of come to this analogy. It's kind of like the internet service provider is the road. The digital service provider is what we're targeting here, is the vehicle. The children, in the case of this bill, are the passengers in that vehicle. 120 years ago, Henry Ford started creating cars. He had no idea there would be a library of federal statutes protecting with safety features on those cars. We're in the genesis of that. No one seems to complain about the airbags, the brakes, the seatbelt, the things that we have there. That's what we're doing today. We're starting to put some guardrails on this, and that's what this bill is going to do. How do we do that? What this bill will do, it will have age verification, and parental consent will be requirements that will be there. Many other states have already passed this legislation or are currently working it. The social media companies will not be able to retain data and surgically target underage kids. They do that now to try to sell us their product. This is something that cognitively we're not developed before we're 18 years. That's what we've decided. We're not going to allow them to do that. Also, if it continues, it allows a declaratory judgment and the possibility of an injunction if it goes. Another ad that the House did to this bill when it was on their side that I think is a very good ad, it outlaws morphing of a child's face or image on pornographic material. You'd think we wouldn't need to legislate that, but we sit here having to do that. And I think that's a tremendous add to this bill. I would like to thank the chairs of Judd A and Judd B at helping work this bill and get it out of committee to the floor. This is a work in progress. It does have a reverse repealer in it. I'm asking you to help us get it to conference so that we can continue to work it. I think we've got a good bill in front of us, but I think there's more work to be done. We can strengthen this bill. And again, this is about protecting our children. With that, I'll yield to questions, Mr. President.
Questions on the bill? Senator Simmons?
Question, Mr. President.
For you, Senator. Senator Simmons, you're recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, on the strike all in Section 6, I think you in your introduction talked about the types of relief that would be available if this bill becomes law. And you talked about injunctive relief and declaratory relief. Could you also talk about the monetary judgment that is listed in lines 155 through 155 and 156?
Yes, sir, Senator. My apologies for not mentioning that. There was a third option that was there. I'll just read it. A monetary judgment or award not to exceed $100,000 per violation. That was added in committee. Yes, sir.
And to give actual toolbox as it relates to the civil type of remedies that's available when our children are harmed by these platforms. Do you agree with what actually came out of committee as it relates to that $100,000?
I think that everybody's intent on all sides of this issue, social media companies, the people working for and against this bill in different areas, is to protect our kids. So yes, sir, I definitely agree with that.
The civil aspect of when our children are harmed in this regard. I look forward to continue to work on this bill as it moves through the process. Thank you.
And Senator, thank you for your support throughout this bill and working with it.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Senator Wiggins, for what purpose?
Question.
You here for a question, Senator?
Yes, sir, I do.
Senator Wiggins, you're recognized.
Thank you, Senator. You've worked hard on this, and you and I have talked about it. And brought up in committee, I think even Senator Branning spoke about this, the parental side of this. I've expressed to you that I think there is we have to seriously talk about parental responsibility in this situation. I understand the issues we're dealing with, but I think parents have a role to play in this. Can you talk about that and where we are on that?
Yes, sir. I'll be glad to talk about that. I think maybe as I'd said in committee, this is not an either or. This is not something we as a legislature can create laws around and this go away. It's, as many things, they start in the home. It's the responsibility of the parents. As this happened in Starkville, Mississippi, when young Walker and this tragedy happened, my wife and I, the day after, we're sitting there looking at each other talking, what is catfishing? And we were ignorant. We did not understand what it is. It is sexual extortion online is what it is, if someone doesn't know. We go to our kids and we say, Grace Ann, Emily, do you know about this? Oh, yeah, we know about it. They knew more than we did. So in no way is it my intent for this legislation to alleviate responsibility in the home. As we go down this path in the digital age, I've kind of the term hazards of the internet. We as policymakers have to come alongside industry at times, and believe me, I have talked to industry directly, indirectly for months now. We've got to come alongside them and create policy where we need to help them do a better job. It's our job. I've said many times since I've been elected, my number one responsibility is public safety, and this is no different. So I may have elaborated a little bit, but Mr. Chairman, parents are definitely responsible.
Thank you, Senator. Senator England, for what purpose, sir?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the bill that I have an amendment for at the proper time.
We're ready for your amendment, sir, Senator. We have no further questions on the board.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can we have this on the board? Thank you. Senators, if you look, what this does, it deletes some language that was put in committee, which deals with the litigation portion of this, the civil penalties of $100,000. Senator Williams mentioned, this is kind of a new thing that we're looking at. I think social media even is trying to look at ways to do this. I'm very thankful for this bill. I think it's something that's very important that we need to do. I've had long talks with Senator Williams on this, and I'm glad that we've got it to the floor. I do think that adding a civil penalty lawsuit portion of this is just not proper at this point. We need to let this go a little bit further, research this, but this does allow for certain remedies, deck action, and injunctive relief, and I think that is more proper. So what this amendment does is takes that language back out that was added in committee, and I believe I have Senator Williams' support. I'm sure he'll speak on that here in a moment as well. But that's my amendment, is take that portion out.
Questions on the amendment? Senator Hickman, for what purpose, sir?
Question, Mr. President.
Will you yield, Senator?
I will.
Senator Hickman, you're recognized for a question.
If we remove this language, that leaves us with what options?
We have a declaratory judgment and injunctive relief in the bill.
And you mentioned that you had done the research on this. What was that research and what did that reveal?
Well, the research, look, I've done a lot of this. I went to a task force meeting in Washington, D.C. back in April, and we talked about this very issue, and everybody in the room from all different states were talking about different things that are that are being done across the country. For instance, in New York, they're allowing a suit for to have images removed from social media, but not including damages in that. And that's something that even New York is doing, understanding that they're not adding damages to some of this new litigation early on. Utah has had some similar language. Texas, Georgia, a lot of these other states are doing things, and they're dealing with injunctive relief and declaratory judgment type relief against these platforms as well as and we also have the criminal measures that passed, of course, that I jumped up and figured we were on this bill, lost my place on the calendar. But so there's obviously a lot of things we're doing to kind of protect our children on this. I agree with what Senator Wiggins said and what Senator Branning said in committee, that a lot of this we have to raise awareness for parents on this. I spoke to the issue, and I remember when Walker's father was here and so bravely addressed the Senate when he received his resolution. He encouraged parents to not allow their teenage children to bring their phones to their rooms at night. Make them put them in a central location in the house. Don't even let them have them. So a lot of this even has to do with just awareness. So there's a lot of research going on, and it's still ongoing, not just by me, but by others. So yes, I've done some research on this.
So, and I understand that your research speaks to the general bill, and I appreciate all that. But my question is, what does your research say about monetary damages? Does it say that monetary damages make these things worse, or do they make them better? Like specifically the monetary damages, because if I understand, your amendment is not talking about the general bill. Your amendment is about taking out monetary damages.
Well, Senator Hickman, I'll speak to some very specific research that has to do with the Mississippi State Senate, and I would say that if we don't remove this, we have a good possibility the bill loses. So this is to help the bill get passed so that we can come back and look at it later, because I don't think our body is comfortable with putting damages into a bill dealing with something so new at this point, where we could see an influx on lawsuits where we're still figuring out what we're looking at here.
So, I mean, I think we passed things out of this body, and we've done things that may or may not do whatever. I mean, we've said that we're not, in a sense, concerned about lawsuits and all these other things, whether it's going to pass here or there. But what does money damages do aside from that? Do they make this worse? And I think to Senator Williams' point earlier, he talked about, Henry Ford created a vehicle. He never knew that there was going to be laws on the books and doing all of this. So, I mean, why can't we be first? He talked about all these other states who didn't do that. What is wrong with Mississippi doing its own thing and putting some monetary damages in this? Because we both know that the only way you get to a corporation is through its pockets.
Well, I wonder where we would be in that Henry Ford example if we had trial lawyers at that time suing, car manufacturers for car issues when we were just getting cars on the road and rolling with them. I don't think it was proper at that time either. We've had time to look at that, and I can tell you that I understand that there are a lot of attorneys in this state and elsewhere that would probably love a chance to file a lawsuit against a social media company and make an argument based on this and get it in front of the right judge and get a judgment for money, and I don't even know if we're where we need to be to know what that would look like yet. So I think that the injunctive relief and the deck action is proper at this point. And again, I hope to see this bill pass.
Well, I mean, since we're thinking, and you said you don't think that would have happened, I think we would have gotten seatbelts sooner and better cars sooner if trial lawyers had been around suing when the car was first created. Thank you.
Thank you for your statement.
Senator Hill, for what purpose?
Question.
You here for a question, Senator?
I sure do.
Senator Hill, you're recognized.
So if you take out the monetary judgment and a parent has to sue, then even if they prevail with the declaratory judgments and the injunction, they can't get their money back from what they had to do to file the cost, to file the case.
Yeah, that's correct. But I can tell you as a parent that if something like this were to happen to me, I don't think that money would be where I'd be looking. I'd be looking to file, I'd be talking to my district attorney or the attorney general under the bill that we just passed out of here to work on the criminal side of things. And I also would want to have a judge provide injunctive relief and maybe even a deck action to say that, look, this is improper, something needs to be done about it.
I understand, but parents aren't loaded with money and lawyers aren't cheap. So that's my concern, that if you take a monetary judgment out of there, you may discourage a parent from even pursuing it that doesn't have the means to do it. So that would be my concern.
I understand, and I think another concern, if we want to talk about concerns, would be whether you have lawyers signing up clients to try to sue based on this brand new action that we would be creating here, and even if they're trying to get $100,000 as we would allow them under statute, or just to get social media to settle 100 different cases at $10,000 and not have to deal with it, we could be creating a money mill and a system that we try to avoid here in Mississippi for our businesses to locate here.
Well, we've got lawyers that seem to magically get the workers' comp claims list in the state of Mississippi, and we've had bills to try to remedy that, but yet we never have been able to get that done either. So I don't see, if we got lawyers chasing workers' comp claims, then, we ought to give the same consideration to a parent who may be having to sue based on some tragic cause with their child. So I don't follow that, because it's apples and oranges.
Yeah, Senator Hill, I didn't. I think it's a good question. I don't know that I expected it from you on a civil action type question and allowing for trial lawyers to sue individuals and companies that we try to attract in Mississippi.
Well, what I
think
have
that's a
found in
little
the
odd.
legislature,
And if I just may answer your question, since it was
Sure.
asked, you mentioned workers' comp. That's just to mention how we use the workers' comp system in Mississippi. If we had too frivolous of a workers' comp system that allowed for different damages to be recovered other than what we do, we would see businesses either not locate to Mississippi or not, or choose to leave Mississippi to go to another state that maybe does not allow so many lawsuits and civil actions to be filed against a company. I think that it's a business driving
I think you missed my
to,
point on the workers' comp.
Well, I may have, because I know we're arguing about taking this out right here.
Lawyers
and if we're
wind
gonna
up
take it out,
with a list of workers' comp claims somehow in this state, and lawyers start sending the workers' comp victims letters to try to represent them against the company. So when you talked about trying to protect these companies from frivolous lawsuits, we've had this going on with workers' comp for years and years and years, and never have been able to get anything to do it. We've had bills in this body that always died, some passed the House. So that's just my concern, that if you put a bill out there, but there's really no mechanism to enforce it or to help a parent that doesn't have monetary capabilities of taking something to court, they would be basically doing a GoFundMe on Facebook. So that would be my concern. Thank you.
And Senator Hill, just to finally answer your question, I believe that if you like what's going on with workers' comp, and if you want to, I admire your effort for us to be consistent with certain things, but I certainly would not like to see billboards with folks saying, if you have a suit against social media, give us a call. are sending letters out, like you say we see in workers' comp suits. I certainly disagree with you that we shouldn't just do this and open this up for everybody because maybe the workers' comp suit takes place. I'm not one that likes frivolous lawsuits, and I don't like, quite frankly, I don't like the billboards that we have everywhere with people seeking damages. But you're certainly welcome to vote against the amendment. But that's what my amendment does, is takes that civil action out of this bill.
Total civil action out of the bill.
It takes the civil action, the $100,000 remedy out of the bill, yes.
So they really don't have, companies really don't have any liability anymore, do they?
They have liability if a lawsuit is brought. They can be subject to have an injunctive relief against them, or a DEC action against them in this matter, or the bad actors can also have criminal suits brought against them. So I think this is a good bill for parents and a good bill for others to look at.
Senator Simmons, for what purpose?
To speak against the amendment at the appropriate time, Mr. President.
Appropriate time. See no further questions. Senator Simmons is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senators. I supported Senator Williams when this bill came up, the criminal bill, and I think he's doing the right thing for Brian and Courtney Montgomery. And also, he's doing the right thing with this civil bill. Brian and Courtney Montgomery woke up on December the 1st, 2022, to find their 16-year-old son, Walker, dead from suicide. By all accounts, Walker was a normal child in a tight-knit family. The Montgomerys had sought a rural life, living on a farm in Lowndes County. Carter is 5 years old. DJ is 10 years old. If one of them had the same fate that Walker had, I'm simply saying to you, members of the Senate, that a DEC action is fine, injunctive relief is fine, but for these social platforms, money damages is also fine. I ask you to vote against this amendment. Let the bill move forward. Senator Williams has done an exceptional job on the criminal bill and on this civil bill, but keep as many tools in the toolbox as possible to make these bad actors, even if they are corporations, to do the right thing for our children. I ask you to vote against the amendment.
Senator England.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think we've said enough. We just ask you to please vote for the amendment. Let's keep this bill moving. I think a lot of us would agree that this is a good amendment to this bill, and that with this amendment, this bill is even better to send across the hallway, and hope our colleagues over in the House will support it as well.
Thank you, Senator England. Senator Parker, for what purpose, sir?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for Senator Simmons.
Senator Simmons, you're quick.
Yes, Mr. President.
Please proceed, Senator Parker.
Thank you, Senator Simmons. Thank you for your work on this. Thank you, Senator Williams, for your work on this too. The question I have, because there were some interesting questions raised about, a frivolous lawsuit or something like that. I understand this bill has a reverse repealer in it. It's going to move through the process, and it may be that Senator Williams wants to continue the conversation and move this through the process. But I want to bring this to your point. So even if we were to say that there should not be a $100,000 penalty for each and every time that you violate every provision in here, wouldn't you think it would be at least appropriate that we allow that type of remedy in the event where there was some type of damage, near death, or some type of major tragedy that occurred to a family like occurred to this family? Would you agree that that would be at very least what we should do?
I would agree, Chairman Parker.
And so as this does move along through the process, if there is some desire to get to a middle ground on that,
yes,
would you agree that at very least doing something like that and recognizing that when you do have an event like this and you send a message to whatever the company may be, the big tech company or whoever they are, that if someone does die from a tragedy like this, that they're going to be held accountable, would you agree that that would be a good message for us to be sending?
I agree, Chairman Parker.
Thank you for your comments about the family. Thank you for your comments about the amendment. And I definitely want to see the bill make it to conference because it does have a reverse repealer in it. But I welcome you and Senator Williams to continue to look at that liability at very least for those conditions. So thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Parker. Senator, we're ready for your motion. Senator England.
My motion is to adopt the amendment.
Motion is to adopt the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
Chair's in doubt. Call the
Division.
vote. Yeah, you can. Senator England's already said his part. Yeah. All that are for the amendment, please stand. If you'd all go to your desk, please. Senator Williams, are you standing for the amendment? If you're for the amendment, please stand. Are you standing? For the amendment. One moment, please. Okay. This is too close to this. Okay. Those opposed to the amendment? (28) for, the bill passes. Pardon me? I'm sorry, the amendment passes. I'm sorry, you're right. The amendment passes. Senator, you're ready.
One thing I think we can agree on, we all want to do what's best for our children. As I committed to in committee, and I commit to now, I will continue to work this through the end of conference, and if we get something out the door, this isn't the one-all do-all. This is something we will continue to work year after year after year. Just to put it in perspective of why I supported Senator England's amendment, the global social commerce market is projected to be valued at $2.4 trillion in 2023. Does that mean anything? Not really. But when you put it in perspective, that's $6.5 billion a day. We have a $7 billion budget in this entire state. This space is almost that a day. By 2030, that's expected to be $8.5 trillion. This thing is a rocket. I think it's essential, it's imperative that we do something to send a message to the social media companies that we're going to protect our children. I'm proud that they're doing things, but they're not doing enough. This is our time to have that message. I will work with everybody in here on both sides of the building from now through conference to come out with the best product that we can. Several people have implied this is a weak bill. You're right. It is. There are more teeth we can put in it, and I commit to work to do that over the next few weeks if you so choose to take this to conference. I also think that the punitive damage is a reactive measure after the damage is done, not a proactive measure. What we want to do with this bill is tell the social media companies, you have within your means and your mechanisms, spend your money, spend your dollars on making these platforms safer than they are. Let's not ask them to spend their dollars fighting lawsuits. That's a tool in the toolbox. If it's necessary, we will put it there, but there are other tools I want us to implement before if we do. With that, I would ask for passage by use of the afternoon roll call, Mr. President.
We have to do the strike all first, Senator.
I'm sorry. I would move that we would adopt strike all as amended.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're on the amendment. Senator England, for what purpose?
I'd like to speak on the bill at the proper time, Mr. President.
You're recognized, Senator. Senator Hobson?
Question, please.
You for questions, Senator Williams?
Yes, sir, I do.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Williams. Just one question on that same matter that was just debated on the motion to amend. Would there be anything that would preclude the court in what was subsection C, just saying that a court would have such other authority to determine what relief should be available, something to that effect, and just leave it to the court in addition to the declaratory relief and the injunction?
To my knowledge, no, sir, but not being an attorney, I do not know for sure.
Okay. Would you be concerned that if you didn't put anything else in there that you're limiting the relief that the court may think is appropriate?
Potentially, yes. After reflection, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator England, recognized to speak on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I'll be brief. I'm come up here to talk to you all as a fellow senator, but also as a parent who has a 13-year-old son at home and a 10-year-old daughter. I appreciate your patience in allowing me to do this, but like I said, I attended a task force in Washington, D.C., and one thing that I realized when I went there is that a lot of times there's things that we can't do in this body that we can do as parents and as uncles and as big brothers and big sisters and aunts and so on that we can't do, that we can't legislate to in this body, and that is limiting our children from having social media. And I think that's a very big thing that we all ought to consider doing. We're seeing it all over this state. We're seeing all over the country that our young people's minds just aren't ready for that. They're being bullied online. They're being exposed to things they ought not be exposed to. And regardless of whatever amount we were to put on this or whatever relief we do, we still can't hide from the fact that as parents, we need to do more. And Walker Montgomery's dad, when he spoke here, and I think he had us all choking back tears, if not just flat out crying with him, and he was so brave to do that, when he said kids ought not have smartphones in their bedrooms when they go to their bedroom at night, and they ought not have social media. And if he could go back and make one rule, even though his kids would probably not like him for it, because all the other kids at school may have social media and the other parents may be allowing this, he wishes he would have not allowed that. And I just rise today to support Senator Williams' efforts on this bill. I appreciate everyone voting with me on the amendment, but I do want to point out how important I think this is for all of us to just understand what the world is going through right now. If I have a platform here, which I do as a senator, I want to say for everyone that social media is not for children. It ought not be allowed to children, and the same with what is available on smartphones. So I'm glad that we are doing things, and I do expect to do more things in this body as we go forward. But as parents, there are things that we can do that we really can't legislate to. Thank you.
Senator Williams.
Thank you, Senator England. I would move that we would pass the strike all as amended by use of the afternoon roll call.
All use of the afternoon roll call is being requested. Anyone object to the procedure? According is voted no. Present.
Thank you.
Turner Ford, present. Anyone else? Anyone else? Bill passes by use of the morning roll call. We'll go to announcements. Announcements, Senate. Senator Hobson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to call an Appropriations Committee meeting tomorrow, and I'm not exactly sure what time, either right before or right after lunch, so I would ask appropriation members to be flexible. I will announce it before we take a break and recess for lunch tomorrow, but either right before or right after lunch in room 216. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Parks.
Thank you, Mr. President.
tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in room 210, local and privates will have a meeting.
Room 210, local and private. Senator Polk for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Adjourn in memory.
Please proceed.
On behalf of myself and Senator Berry, I'd like us today, when the Senate adjourns, to adjourn in memory of Peggy Garner McGee.
Thank you, Senator Polk. Any other announcements? Appreciate the Senate's long work. It's so that we'll be finished when we're supposed to on Wednesday without having to go all night. Appreciate all the bills y'all discussed and handled today. Senator Polk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the Senate adjourn until 10 a.m. tomorrow.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. We stand adjourned.